Hello, hello, hello. This is Barbara Ellison, and welcome to the Everyday Riches Show. We look a little different right now. Number one, don't have Jason. This is, and I'm telling you up front now, this is pre-recorded because you know what? Life happens, and we just couldn't all of us get together to get this done. Jason's not here. Catherine. And this is but you know what? This is the beauty of modern technology. So welcome to the Everyday Riches Show. As I said, I'm Barbara Ellison, and I am your normal co-host. Jason is, you know what? He'll be here next week. Anyways, but I'm your wellness pro. You know that I have, for myself, I'm on a mission to make happiness the norm rather than the exception. And part of happiness is being healthy. And so that's been a new direction for me. I am just so excited about it that, you know, like, because I have found really over the years that the two main things that people pray about is their health and their finances. And it is just absolutely amazing to find something that can really help with both. And I'm so excited about it. So I'm just blessed to be a part of it. But anyways, I just also want to introduce you to a dear friend of mine, Catherine Rocheleau. Fellow Canadian, living now. Okay, are you still in Vancouver or are you
Yes,
in
I
Victoria?
am.
You are still in Vancouver, in the process of moving to Victoria. But you know what? We have had a great friendship and have had just, you know, when you find somebody that just feels the same way that you do about things, it is just a beautiful thing. So Catherine, welcome to the show. Tell us a little bit about you.
Okay, well, as you heard, I live in Vancouver and I'm going to be relocating to Victoria. So a big change on the horizon for me, but change has been the underpinning of my business along with leadership. So my company is Ignite Leadership International, and I do work with clients internationally on leadership, and social impact in particular is that where my heart belongs. And so I work with social impact leaders, both in the for-profit and not-for-profit sectors, to really create organizations that prosper, have great workplaces where people grow and thrive, and they make a massive impact in the world. Because I believe when we all pull together, that we can make this ripple effect that moves from a little trickle into a Niagara Falls waterfall of change. So this is just an area that is, for a lot of people, is new. For me, it's been the status quo for a very long time. And I am so excited because of the pandemic to have the opportunity for it to have gained more recognition, and to be really now more on the forefront than on the back burner, which I saw before. So it's been kind of fun.
You know, and that's what I love about what I'm doing. The research is now finally coming into play. The research and the, not only the research, but the technology.
Yeah.
Like I've been in the wellness space, since in the 1990s. But you know what? I have to admit that people would look at me and go, "You do what? Why? Yeah, what's that all about? About wellness and nutrition and all of those things." And people just thought I was crazy. And it was like, oh, Barb, that's just all a lot of hype. But you know, now, and I think you can say the same thing about what you were doing. It was just, oh, well, yeah, that's just wishful thinking. That's never going to happen. Nobody's going to follow you. Nobody is going to do that. And yet now the technology and the research has caught up to the hype. And now it's like, well, why didn't you tell us?
Exactly. And you know what, the interesting part of that is it takes a shift in the status quo for people to open up to new ideas and to hear things differently. So whether it's an internal shift, a mindset shift, or it's an exterior shift, something changes that opens up a door, even a crack. And now all of a sudden you start to see a little bit more or hear a little bit more. And as they say, if you buy a blue car, every
Right.
time you drive down the road, all you're going to see is blue cars. Well,
Right.
it's the same idea. And I've seen that with social impact is, I mean, I've been talking about this for, over a decade.
Right.
And it's interesting because people, even pre-COVID, were still telling me that's not on the top of mind for most people. And you're wasting your time. You need to change.
Oh,
And I kept thinking, but this is where my heart is. This is where my
right.
passion is. And
Yeah.
I knew there were people out there that were doing what I love to do. So I just needed to get connected with them. And now I find like everybody's talking about their impact, and
Mhm.
what they're defining as impact and what I might define as impact may not be on the same page,
Right.
but at least they're talking impact. So now we're
Exactly.
shifting that
Right.
perspective. And
Right.
that to me is step one.
Right. And I think one of the things for me that I am just absolutely loving, because impact, it doesn't matter what space you're in.
Mhm.
You can impact someone else's life. It doesn't matter what space you're in.
Mhm.
You can be a teacher. You can be a plumber. You can be
Absolutely.
anything. But when you can impact how somebody else sees something,
Mhm.
like one of my favorite sayings, and you've probably heard me say this, is that you don't know what you don't know until somebody else tells you something that you don't know.
Mhm.
And but I'm really finding now that people are more open to hearing things that they don't necessarily know, or that they don't necessarily have thought, they have not necessarily have thought of in their life, to apply it to their life.
Yeah. And sometimes that comes when, when we hear of something, you think, look, I'm only just making ends meet. How in the
Right.
heck am I going to donate or support a nonprofit or help these homeless people or, whatever? It doesn't matter what it is, but there's that question. And you know what? One of the things we all have to recognize is, yes, we do have to take care of ourselves first. We
Right.
cannot take care of other people if we
Right.
don't take care of ourselves. And believe me, I've learned that the hard way.
Right.
But what you
Yep.
do is you take care of yourself. Now, I'm not talking about having this luxury abundant, overly abundant life. You take care of the basics, and
Right.
then you kind of prioritize. And depending on where you sit on what I call the impact spectrum, depending on where you sit, you're going to want to give more or you're going to want to give left. And it was interesting. I was listening to an interview today, and one of the gentlemen, he said, our giving comes second to our mortgage.
Oh, okay.
So they had identified a charity that they like to support. They decided that when they've paid their mortgage, they've looked after their roof.
Right.
Then they look after this giving.
Right.
And after that, they split everything down to cover everything else. But they made it that's a high priority. Now, most people, they're not going to do that.
Right.
But you know what? That is a choice. But when you make that choice and you can be consistent, what
Right.
happens is that little trickle starts to ripple. And when you share that information, other people get the idea and they start to do the same thing.
Right.
And that's what I've found in every time I talk about this, people pick up one idea or one concept that now they can implement. And when they do that each and every time, and they keep growing it, all of a sudden it's making way more benefit for themselves as well as the world around them.
Right. And one of the things for me, and I'm going to tell on myself, there have been some times where I have made less than stellar financial decisions and really had to tighten up. I had to declare bankruptcy, just through no fault of my own, but looking back, oh, yeah, I think I probably had a little bit of culpability because I didn't do enough due diligence in what I was embarking on. And yet, so when that happened to me, it was like I had to really look at my finances and my giving and all of that. But one of the things that really struck me was that just because I was I called it being financially embarrassed. Just because I was financially embarrassed did not mean that I had to cut it out. I did not have to cut out giving. I just cut down giving. And so even if you give $1 a week, it doesn't, the amount, that's one of the things that I finally got into my being. It's not the amount, it's the act of giving. Pick something that you're going to give to, and then it doesn't matter the amount.
Exactly.
And
exactly.
It was like, oh, and once I had that piece, and I don't even remember now who it was that said it, you just start where you are with what you have, and do what you can.
Absolutely.
And it was, and I think it's called the law of 3. And like Jim Rohn talks about it. He says, you know what, even if you can spend 1 hour a week working on building your fortune while you're still paying your bills at your job, eventually you will have your fortune.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that just was like, oh, wow.
Yeah.
Made all the difference.
Exactly. And there's more to giving than just money. So
exactly.
if you can't give money, can you give some time? Do you have an expertise that you can share? Yes. Are you good with kids?
Right.
Could you help somebody and take their kids for an hour so they could go to the grocery shopping without their kids? Or could you, like one example that I share a lot was, I'm a really passionate Olympaholic. I love the Olympics inside out, upside down, and backwards. And I was so excited when they were coming to Vancouver, and I wanted to volunteer. It didn't matter what I did, but I wanted to volunteer. But what I did is when I filled out the application, I said to them, here's where my expertise lies. Here's my skill set. Here's what I do. I want to do a job that is enriching for me with a great experience, that's of great benefit to you, and really helps the athletes and the visitors at the Olympics. They offered me some of the nicest volunteer positions that I could ever ask for, because they recognized my skill set with their needs. Now that made their job easy. And that's what they said. We would like you to do this because we really think this is a really good fit. Now, as it happened, I wasn't able to do the volunteering because of my job. However, the honor that I got offered, and these were like somebody who I knew that worked inside, and I met after I'd already applied, not during, but said that was one of their like lucrative volunteer positions. But you know what I did? I had some time. Or previous, like when I applied, I had the time, I had the skill set, and I just wanted to do it. Like everything in my being wanted to do this. And so it wasn't that I had to support them in any other way than my expertise. And I've done this with many, many different organizations. And it's my skill set. My background was in food service management and healthcare, and I used to organize events for underprivileged kids and their families so that they could go to the aquarium and have a nice meal. So I put together a team. We went out, we got food donated, we got transportation donated, we got the aquarium donated, and we volunteered our time. And we would bring 250 kids and their families to the aquarium for a once in a lifetime opportunity, because for a lot of them, they could never afford to go there. And they loved it. And that was the one event I never had a problem trying to get people to volunteer for. So here, all I did was I volunteered my time and my expertise. Companies donated supplies and resources and people so that we could put this on. So what do you have that's extra in your life that you could donate to somebody else that helps them in whatever small way it is?
Right.
Mhm.
I remember my husband was a musician, and one time they did a like a sermon on tithing, but it wasn't, people always think the tithing is money, and tithing does not have to be money. And this particular sermon was on tithing of your time and your talent, exactly what you just said.
Yeah.
And my husband sat there and he went really still. And it was like, okay, he just said, well, I'm listening to the sermon. I didn't think anything of it. Afterwards, he turned around and looked at me and he said, I have to join the worship team, don't I? And I went, well, I guess you do, because I guess you do. And it just absolutely convicted him that
Mhm.
it wasn't about money.
No,
It is not about money. It's about your time and your talent.
exactly.
And it absolutely hit him that,
Mhm.
oh, this isn't about money.
And as
Tithing
a
is not
business,
about money. It's
yeah,
about
I mean, as
time
a
and talent.
business, what are surpluses that you have?
Right.
You
What's
know, I mean, I'm because I'm moving, I am going through all of my stuff. I have found file folders, and I've found all kinds of other things that I know nonprofits need. So
right,
I'm actually creating a list. I'm sending it out to local nonprofits and saying, would any of this be of value to you?
right,
And my goal is that I can donate it. It's going to mean they don't have to buy it,
right.
and they can use
Exactly.
it and enjoy it.
Yeah.
And that's great. I had some paper, some, because I used to have some contracts or some old letterhead of businesses that no longer exist. I was able to black out, like I just took a pen and blacked out the name. And then I went and asked a childcare place, do you ever look for paper for kids to draw on? And do you mind, like I've had to black out the letterhead, but if you're interested. And they said, oh, well, we have a guillotine. We can chop that part off and then the paper will be clean. And I said, well, can I help you do that? Because I don't mind guillotining it. I just don't own a guillotine.
Right.
And so we chopped off that. And then they had this pack of paper that was about this thick that now the kids got to use. And then the leftovers we recycled.
Right.
So all of a sudden,
Exactly.
like, here was some stuff that, the company didn't want me to send it back when my contract was done. I
Right.
said, okay, I'll get rid of it. Well, of course, I'm a pack rat, and just in case,
Who
because
uses
I'll use it for scrap. And, I do a lot of sketching out on paper. So I have used it, but it wasn't going anywhere. It was just for my personal use. But here I wanted to not have to pack it and move it. So I'm going, would you be interested? And they go, that would be wonderful.
And you know what? And that is one of the things that I think is just such a good analogy and a good thing for people to know. Just ask,
Mhm.
because
Good
you
point.
know what? If you don't ask, the answer is always no.
Mhm.
But when you do ask, hey, look at, you feel good, they feel good, everybody wins. It's a win-win situation. And that's one of the things that I have found, that when people are in their business, ask people, hey, you're like, for anybody, if they're, especially if they're starting a new business, no matter what kind of a business it is. And that's where, don't you find that sometimes that's what stops people, and why they are not as successful as what they could be? They think that they can just start a business and that they don't have to do anything to get themselves known.
Mhm.
Yeah, well, it doesn't work that way. You
No.
must do advertising. And what better way to advertise than to say, hey, I'm in a new venture and I'm so excited about it. Would you like to hear about what I'm doing?
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah. And
Yes or no?
if
And,
you've got a skill that somebody could use,
and if you can
you
use it.
get to meet people at a whole different layer. And when
Exactly.
they experience you,
Right.
that's part of your brand. That's the part that they're
Exactly.
going to remember. And now all of a sudden, that is the best part of what you're doing, is that you've
Mhm.
got people who have experienced you. Then
Right.
they get to the know, because now they've experienced you, they've got to know you. Now they can decide if they like and trust you, which when they experience you, that tends to follow along unless you've done something drastically wrong.
Right.
But then what happens is then they ask more about what you do. They
Mhm.
ask how they can help, or you can let people know, well, I'm looking to connect with more people. So for example, right now I've been creating a membership program, and it's probably going to be more like an association
Okay.
within my business for nonprofit leaders, but it may expand into social impact leaders, because
Right.
that's the for-profit and the not-for-profit worlds that I actually work with.
Right.
And they have similar needs, similar wants, and similar benefits.
Right.
So it's really kind of a cool thing. So what I do is I say to people, do you know somebody who is a nonprofit leader that you might be able to introduce me to, so that I can better understand what they're facing in today's world, because it's
Right.
changed a lot.
A lot.
And and this is, so it's just a conversation. People have been so generous in just sharing
Yeah.
that a name of a friend, and saying to that friend, look, I know this gal, she is looking to talk to 100 nonprofit leaders. Would you be willing to share 20 minutes of your time with her? And it's been so cool, because
Right.
I get to know about the nonprofits, I get to know about what their mission is and what their values are, and I get to ask them a few of my own questions. So in my books, what we've created is a triple win, and I always use the
Right.
triangle for the triple win. So it's a win for them, it's a win for me, and it's a win for the people we serve. Because
Right.
ultimately, yes, I'm creating this program that people can pay for to
Right.
participate in, but that's not the purpose of my call. My call is to get to know them. And you know what,
Right.
if they have a social media post that I can post to help spread the word, I'm happy
Exactly.
to do
You're
so.
happy to do it.
If they need introduction to somebody, I'm happy to introduce them to somebody. If
Right.
there is something else, like I had one gal, she was looking for a creative fundraising idea. She and I, in a matter of about 10 minutes, created an amazing opportunity that was completely in alignment. So I just volunteered 10 minutes of my time, gave her that 10 minutes of coaching,
Right.
and voila, she walked away with a great idea. So
Exactly.
that was how I could help her in the moment.
Right.
Now I
Exactly.
can't do that with everybody, obviously, because
No.
not always do I have those aha moments right then and there.
Right.
But what it does is, I've always in it that how can I create a triple win? And everything you do. So if you're
Right.
buying paper, is the paper that you're buying recycled, or is it sustainable forestry? Or in my case, I ensure that it's sugarcane paper. And the reason for that, it uses agricultural waste, so it recycles something that's already a waste. It reduces the amount of the carbon footprint. It saves me money, and it gives me a high quality paper, all at the same time. So I've really come up with, so right there, that's the triple win, is that there's an environmental win, there's an economic win, and there's a win that I've got a really good product that I can rely on. So thinking about, who are you buying from? Who are you associating with? What are their values? What is their purpose? What's their mindset around giving and making a difference?
Right.
That becomes part of it. And that's what I love. I mean, that's what attracted to you and I together, is that we
Exactly.
had this common goal of being able to help each other and to help others, as well as benefiting ourselves. So it wasn't, I'm going to benefit at the expense of you. It was, I'm going to benefit, so how can I help you? And the reciprocal happens. And when that happens, it's always
It's
a
magic.
triple win.
And it's magic.
It is.
It absolutely is. And that's like, I think Steve Farber says, to love what you do in the service of people who love what you do. And that was what the first time I heard that, I had to stop and think about it. I'm honest with you, I had to stop and think about it. But once it hit me, oh, and like that's one of the things that Jason, and I miss Jason. This was going to be such a great conversation. But that's one of his things, is be yourself, be the best part of yourself. Sales is easy when you do it as your authentic self.
Mhm.
Yeah, I love when he says, people just make it hard. And it doesn't have to be hard.
Yeah,
And I think that's how business too can be. Business does not have to be hard.
no,
It just has, I think for myself, you just have to be in alignment with what, are you doing what you're supposed to be doing, what you were put here on this earth to do.
absolutely. And every one of us has things in our lives and in our businesses that are not things we love to do.
Right.
So is that a place you could hire out and have somebody else do them who's really good at it?
Right.
Then you're paying it forward because you're employing somebody else.
Exactly.
And you could be making way more money doing what you do well if you could hire somebody else to do what you don't do well. Or you invest in creating the systems and creating the processes that you need so that you can do it, but do it in a timely, effective manner, because maybe sometimes you just don't have that extra money. But if you can set the systems up, then you can scale, and then you could bring somebody in because now you've got it documented and you could train somebody else to do it, take it off your plate. And we see this all the time, all the time. And as entrepreneurs, especially, most of us have been really bad at, getting others to help us because
isn't that the truth? We
everything's
don't want to
in our
admit we can't
head.
do it.
Or we don't want somebody to not to do it, differently or whatever. I mean, my focus always is, people are people. Everybody's going to do it a slightly different way.
Exactly.
But my job as the CEO of my business is to make sure that the outcome and the delivery is what I want it to be.
Yes.
The methodology could probably change based on the person, but there's a certain amount of continuity that has to be there because it has to be duplicatable.
Right.
But at the same time, I also want my team to be happy. So anybody that works with me, I want them to be happy. And so if doing it my way is frustrating them, and we shift it and do it their way, and that works for them, keeps them happy, and gives me the result and the timelines that I need,
right,
that's a triple win.
That's a triple win. That's like, I have to admit, when I mean, I resisted for such the longest time of getting a virtual assistant. I was like, oh, I don't need a virtual assistant. I can't afford it. I can't, well, all of this stuff. But once, and it's like, oh, I'm gonna have to spend time training and all the things that we think that we don't have time for. But once I did it, got through the learning curve for myself and them.
Yeah.
I had never had a virtual assistant before. Now, oh, yike. It is wonderful to have a virtual assistant, because she has taken some of the, like, especially for my social media stuff, that we all know we need to do social media. We should, or that it's not that we need to, but it's a good avenue for people to use to get to people that you don't know. So once I embraced it, it was like, oh, this really does, because it has freed me up to do the things that I'm good at, like doing this show and doing interviews and just doing speaking things.
Yeah.
Because that's what I love to do.
Yeah.
I get a kick out of it.
Exactly.
And now when I do a post, and I am right now in the process, I'm in part of we call it a warrior challenge, that I have to do a post every day this week. And it was like, oh, okay, yeah. Now it's fun for me to do it rather than because it used to be a chore for me to do it. And it was like, so consequently, when you have something that's a chore, let's be honest, if something is a chore, you don't do it. You don't do it consistently. So now when I do take part in a challenge, now it's just fun, because I know all my other stuff is being taken care of and that I don't have to do anything. This
Mhm.
past week, I was on vacation. Went to Tulsa, went to a wedding. It was
Ooh.
wonderful. Tulsa was 99 degrees.
Oh my goodness.
Left, yeah, it was hot every day. Had fun. We just didn't go out in the middle of the day or we went in air conditioning. But then I left Tulsa and went to Denver. Denver was, of course, a mile high.
Mhm.
Beautiful weather, but then we went up into the mountains. But one of the things that we can all learn, and that's one of the things I think with business people, don't let your business get stagnant. Always be willing to learn something new.
Mhm.
So my girlfriend Shelly, hi Shelly, that she was teaching me how to do Instagram reels and how to make them fun.
Oh, cool.
Well, all you do is you take little 15-second videos and then put captions to them. I
Ah.
went, this would be fun. So that's what I'm doing. I'm starting to do them. I've done these little reels that are 15 seconds, but then you make all these little, so now I'm playing at doing a social media thing because I don't have to worry about my everyday social media stuff. My virtual Rachel is taking care of it. And Jean, sometimes it's like, oh, wow, this is great. I love my social media team. They
Mhm.
are doing such an amazing job.
Yeah.
And so I don't have to do the everyday stuff. So when I get to do these fun things, and you know what? And I think that's what happens to so often to people in business.
Mhm.
Their business stops being fun.
Mhm. Yeah.
And then it becomes a drudge.
Mhm.
And when something is a drudge, you're not going to be, that's not in alignment.
Yeah. And sometimes what happens is that clients shift you off your path.
Off your path.
And we get to the point where we think, you know what, I really need that. I really need that job. So I'm going to take that job. But what ends up happening is it's taken us slightly off course. And then the next job might take us a little bit more off course. It's close enough, but it's still not there. And what happens is we get going down a path that we never wanted to go. And I'll tell you, I've done that one too many times in my multi-decade business. And it's interesting because when I come back on track and I do this rejig and everybody goes, you're changing again. And it's like, yes. I said, I'm going down the wrong path. I'm not having fun. I'm not enjoying it. It's not invigorating me. And people kind of go, well, but you're doing really well. I said, yes, I am. But I said, money isn't my number one motivator.
Right.
So interestingly, it's important, but it's not my number one.
Right.
And
We all have bills to pay.
yeah, exactly. And I sat there and I said, you know what? I know that this isn't it. So I shifted back. And when I came back to work after my 3-year break, it was interesting because social impact and benefit corporations and making a difference through business was so strong that I could not let that go. And despite all of my coaches and my colleagues and everybody telling me I was going down a path that there was no market for, I could not let it go. And I struggled with that for a very long time, but I couldn't let it go. It was like everything, I kept reverting back to it. And people go, I still don't understand what you do. And I kept thinking, okay, I've got to figure out how to communicate this because I know what I do. I know the difference I can make, but people don't get my messaging. And now I look at it and people totally get what I do because it's leadership, it's impact, it's people, and it's making a difference. And when we can pull your purpose and your desire, and you do that through your business, you do it through your life, and you do it financially as well. So, I mean, it really hits that triple bottom line. We want to make a difference in the environment. We want to make a difference in people, and we want to make a difference with money. And it's just what we do with it and how we do it. That's the difference maker.
Exactly. That's like with me, my girlfriend that I just went to see in Denver, we're both in wellness, and I've been in the wellness space for years. And have now really come back to embracing that. Barbara, yeah, you're a wellness girl. I want people to be happy. I want them to live happy, healthy, financially free, abundant lives. That's kind of where I'm
A
at.
great purpose.
It's and once it, and that's like, but you talked about going down kind of like rabbit holes and just going kind of getting off track, and I had been a little bit off track. And when I've come back to it, and the two of us there, she's in wellness and I'm in wellness, but we're with different companies. The thing is that I was listening to, she said, oh gee, Barb, while I was there, she said, oh Barb, I've got a call that you should listen to. I said, hey, you know what, I'll listen to it with you. And I came off that call and went, oh brother, we are, like, business is business. You might be, but you might be driving down, your business is kind of going down the road, but one person is in one vehicle, another person is in another vehicle, but you're in alignment and you're going down the road because we're all to the destination that we want people to live happy, healthy, financially free, abundant lives.
Yeah.
And we're all going in the same direction. And it was just, we had such a great time talking about it that, that she's the brand X and I'm the brand X and we're both brand X. But it was so fun because we realized that we're going down the same road. We're just in a different vehicle.
Exactly.
And it's okay.
And it is okay. And what you want to be doing is figuring out what is the uniqueness that you bring. And you bring that uniqueness through the culture of your organization, through your own personality. I mean, as the personality pro, you definitely get that one.
Yeah.
But you know what, we really do. It's a mindset. And I'll tell you, sometimes it's hard, when you're by yourself, and especially people in COVID. I mean, I struggled, and I don't mind being by myself. I quite like it. I'm an introvert, and so I thrive in it. But when it was like, month after month after month after month, I was seeing lots of people on Zoom. I just was seeing nobody in person. And I still don't see a lot of people in person, but I know that I do get those breaks now and then. And I actually like a little bit of the balance right now. So actually, I'm really okay with where we are.
Me too.
Because I don't need to go to a zillion. And I love Zoom because I'm connecting with people all over the globe.
Exactly.
I am having great conversations. I'm connecting with clients all over the globe. And I'm sitting there going, you know what, this is a pretty cool way of working because I get the best of both worlds, all because of technology. And some of this, some people, they didn't like the idea that I coached virtually. They wanted somebody they sat down and were face to face with. Now they're quite used to it. So they're like, oh, this saves me a whole lot of time. I quite like this. And I'm going, yeah, me too.
That's like on Saturday, I did a speaking engagement. It was like, oh wow. And one of the people was close by with me, but one of the other audience members was in California, in Hollywood. Wow, would that have happened? No.
Yeah. Well, it was funny. The other day, I started my day out talking to somebody in Germany, and then I talked to a couple of people in Canada, and I talked to a bunch of people in the US, and I ended my day by talking with somebody in Australia.
Exactly. Exactly.
And you know what? It was fabulous. And it was all like quick Zoom calls, like 15 minutes, just catching up or asking questions or whatever, sharing perspectives. But what a great way. So, when you can embrace the changes, you can embrace new things. And I mean, that leadership, that's for me, that's what leadership is all about, is you're carving that way. Now, sometimes you're going to be a leader who isn't quite as risk-taking, say, as Elon Musk and stuff, who want to go to space and are quite prepared to do what it takes to get there. But you know what? You might be a leader who has, once you kind of got your head around it a little bit, now you can pave the way and you can create a wave in that direction. So I always say, I like to be on that forward edge of the wave. So that just happens to be me. And looking back over my life, that's what I've done. I've forged new paths in almost every field I've been in. But I have other people who are leaders, but they're not in a leadership position. But they're leaders. And when I've worked with teams, I find those leaders, I nurture those leaders, and I get them leading, and I get them leading what I call leading from behind. And nonprofit leaders, you lead from behind because your board is above you, but you're going to lead the organization by leading your board to get to where you need to go because you're doing the job. And when you can pull this leadership skill set and break new ground, you're constantly learning, you're constantly trying new things, you're constantly changing things, even subtly. You create new, and what that does is it opens up opportunities for change and benefit and growth. And you know what, it pushes you outside your comfort zone, and that's not always a bad thing.
Right. And that is absolutely so true, because it is getting out of your comfort zone and just being willing to just take a little risk. But it doesn't, the thing is, people think, oh, but what if? Well, yeah, but what if it doesn't?
But that's where coaching or a mastermind come in.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. More have come out, like the things that you and I have done together have come out because we were just having a casual conversation like this. And then all of a sudden it was like, oh, we should do that.
Yeah.
Because one thing sparks something else.
Yep.
And it doesn't, and I still go back to, it doesn't matter what space you're in.
No.
And that's one of the things, the name of this show is the Everyday Riches Show. These are the things that constitute the everyday riches. Gratitude, finding somebody that thinks the way that you do, make a difference in somebody's life, make a difference in your own life. But they don't have to be these huge, big, grandiose things. It could be as simple as smiling at somebody that you don't know.
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, it was interesting. I was at the grocery store the other day, and of course we're all masked and everything because we still have the mask mandates here. And there was a gal that she was working there, and you could tell she's kind of just slugging along, and people keep going by her and nobody says anything. And I looked at her, and I she looked at me, and I caught her eye, and I said, "Have a great night. Thanks for your help." And she's like, "Oh, thank you. You too." Like you could tell, like I just lifted her day by just saying thank you and have a great day. And you could just feel this uplift, and her eyes sparkled. And so you don't see much when you're all covered up, but you can see people's eyes and you can see the joy. And so it does make a big difference when you can do that.
Yeah. And and one of my things is, just because, I just did 2 flights. People in the airport, it's like, hey, you're wearing a mask. It doesn't mean you don't talk to people. You're wearing a mask. So it was just, oh yeah. So it was an interesting dynamic of flying and having to wear a mask from the moment you walk in the airport. And then just, everybody from these little kids with these masks. I mean, and some of them were cute, but it was still, it's like, oh, yike. And no matter what no matter what side of the controversy you're on, because it is a controversy.
Oh, absolutely.
No matter what side you're on, there's room for give and take in both, in everything. And if we can more come together. So yeah.
Well, so it's kind of fun. So I think everything you do, and like in my business, I've built in my giving as just part of my business, and I call it More Than Green, because the environment's green, money's green, but you know what, people aren't green. And so I took the triple bottom line and did that. But I've actually I advertise what I do, and I stick with it. And it doesn't matter if I make $100 or $100,000, that I do 2% of top line revenue goes to my charities every single time. And you know what, that works out to $2 per 100. So if I made $50,000, I'm donating less than $275 a day
Yeah.
to a charity. But if
Exactly.
I'm doing that consistently,
Right.
they can now budget for that amount of money. So, you think about it and and then, as you grow, your donations grow. Now, if you made 500,000 and, what business doesn't want to aim for 500,000,
Right.
then you look at it and you think, what, if I could build my business to $500,000, I'm donating, more than $27.50 a day to that organization. That works out to $10,000 a year.
Right.
They can do a lot with $10,000.
Exactly. So it's not
So
a matter of
it's
what,
not,
it's
it's,
just be
do something.
Just
Yeah,
do something.
do something.
Do something.
Yeah, do
So,
something, anything, even if it's little, because a lot of people say to me, that seems awfully little. And I said, well, a lot of people do it like 10% on profit. I said, profit is fudgeable.
right.
Top line is
Right.
not fudgeable.
Right. Exactly.
Like, you give me $1,000, $20 goes to charity. There's no ifs,
Right.
ands, buts, or maybes.
Right.
That's my mandate.
Exactly.
And I said, so if I make less, I donate less. If I make more, I donate more.
Exactly.
But
That's me.
it's still, and you know
It's
what the
there,
neat thing
and it's
is
consistent.
it attracts clients.
Exactly.
It attracts
Exactly.
clients because they like that you are upfront, that you're doing something.
Mhm.
And in most cases, the amount that I donate is way more than that.
Right.
So I just guarantee a minimum of that. And then I have my discretionary on top. So it
Exactly.
makes it really kind of cool. So
Exactly.
I encourage you to do something just like that. If you've got a business, set up a way of donating a certain amount of your time or a certain amount of your money. And don't forget to track it.
Right.
Track
Yes.
it so you can share what you're doing. If
Right.
you donate 10 hours of your time and you earn $50 an hour, then that's 10 times 50. That's how much you've donated.
Right.
You didn't
Exactly.
donate money, you donated time. But on your company's, in your impact, you've donated that amount of skill and time to an
Exactly.
organization. They didn't have to pay out.
Right. Exactly.
So
Exactly.
think about ways that you can do that. How can you recycle, reuse, reduce, and return, repair, so that you keep things out of the landfill, that you give things a second life. With moving, everybody's laughing at me because I'm going, okay, well, where can I donate this? Where do I have to take this? What do I do with this? And everyone goes, can't you just like throw it in a bin and just get rid of it? It's like, nope, I
No.
can't do it. I absolutely cannot do it.
Right. When I gave up my house after David passed away,
Yeah.
they came in, and it was St. Vincent de Paul, I
Mhm.
believe. They came in and took everything that had not, like I did a garage sale. Yes, absolutely. But they came in and I just donated everything in my house. They were like, yeah. I said, yep, take it.
Mhm.
Because I didn't want, this was it. I was done. I was giving up this house.
Yep.
And it was so freeing.
Mhm.
It was so freeing. But
Yeah,
hey,
so
Catherine,
I just always say that's what you need to do.
that's what you need to do. Right? Do something that makes you feel good
Good.
and that frees you up to do something else.
Yes,
Absolutely.
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 There's your triple win, Barbara.
There's your triple win. So anyways,
Absolutely.
Catherine, how do people get in touch with you?
So you can contact me on my website at igniteleaders.com, or on social media. I'm usually under Ignite Leadership on Instagram, Facebook, and on LinkedIn.
Perfect. And people, we're gonna be putting this in the show notes. So I would just really encourage you, if you have something that's burning in your heart that you want to give or develop, or something along a charitable line, reach out to Catherine. We have come up with several things that we're going to be doing, that we're in the process of working on. And it's so exciting to be part of something that might be starting small, but we know is going to get bigger. So this is Barbara Ellison, your wellness pro, and welcome to the Everyday Riches Show. Hey, leave a comment that let us know you were here. And if you have any questions, if you have an idea of something that you want to share on the show, or if you want to be on our show as a guest, let us know. We always love having new guests. Jason is going to be here next week. I'm not sure if I'm going to be. I'm going to be vain. I'm having eye surgery done to have my eyelids that's interfering with my vision. And so I might be here next week, black eyes and all, but you know what? Jason will be here. So have a great week. Be awesome. Be the best you that you can be and give freely. So we'll talk to you soon. Have an awesome, awesome day.
Bye.